Hello, gentlemen. Today I'll be taking you through a journey of my own PLO MTT tournament play. I've been enjoying the format recently, quite a cool little format, as it's basically like, in a lot of spots at least, playing a no-rake cash game with ante. So quite loose ranges, quite complicated, deep spots, especially to start the tournament, and then some cool ICM shit. So no spoilers on how deep this goes, but we'll start it off with, let's call it part one of this little video series, depending on if you guys like it or not. If nobody really gives a fuck, I'll probably not do it again, but if people like it, I'll probably do it. Before we get started, I'll introduce you to a nice image that I've got here. This is going to be my avatar for the session. Some of you may recognize this guy. He's not the coolest guy ever, but yeah, he'll be rooting us on in image form as we hopefully crush in the following tournament. It's a $1 million prize pool guaranteed, $400 buy-in, multi-day one event called the Plolossus on GG. It's quite a nice tourney. Very whaley. Very, very whaley, not to spoil too much. And yeah, let's get started. I think this is the first hand that I play of the session in the first level. 9988 double, and I decided to keep on this feature where you squeeze your cards. I don't know if that was a good decision or not. But for now it's on. The sounds are also on. Let me know if you like those two things being a thing in this video or not, because I'm quite open to changing them. But anyway, we do 3-bet this hand and get a pretty reasonable flop, like a nut gutter, 2 set draws, double backdoor flush draw. But not a board you're looking to c-bet too much with this kind of SPR. I do start things with a flop check. I don't want to get raised off my hand. And my opponent, I believe, checks it back. I get my little RNG out. Although that's going to be not dirtying up the screen for this video. I turn a flush draw here and I decide I don't really mind a little equity protection / bluff. And so I fire things off with a bet. I feel like it's standard. He does not contest it. The river would have been an ace, so we probably would have bluffed that card. Not sure how it would have gone. Now here is an interesting one. So I've recently done some pre-flop study in this no-rake anti-PLO format. And in lots of positions, 100 BB also, you're actually limping like 10% range and playing around 7 to 10% wider, depending on the position. And of the aces that want to limp trap, double suited aces are like 90% limp trapping. So knowing that piece of information, I chose to limp this in pre and do spring the trap here. Limp raising to 15 BB and getting at least, I think, just one caller. The big blind who flattered the small punish ends up folding, I believe. So we pump it. Tony Meatballs, great screen name, calls, and the other guy snap folds. We flop the top pair, the aces, and the double BDFD. SPR 5-ish, 4.5. So a little bit awkward, right? Like getting jammed on after c-betting. You wouldn't love to see it. But at the same time, I don't really want to let this guy just roll off a turn card when I block top pair. So I do decide to c-bet half pot with my double backy. And on that particular turn, I probably would have pot jammed. But it doesn't happen. I guess we're teleporting over to the next hand. I'm the pre-flop raiser here and got 2 whales calling me. And I decide to c-bet top set dry with the backdoor nut flush draw. One of the whales check raises. I think the other whale cold calls. And so we have a pretty easy farm. I don't think there's any need. Like say I had 10-10 jack. Maybe I can put the back raise on here. You know, get value out of second set. Potentially fold a guy off 8-6. But yeah, with this hand, I just go for the call. Pretty disgusting turn, hoping that they don't pot it, because I cannot continue. But this guy decides to give us a discount here. He goes half pot. And yeah, Mohamed Esposito, who is the Moroccan chip leader, makes a fold, and we get to farm here for a fair price, hoping that we have implied odds if we can find the magical board pair. Very rarely winning the pot at showdown, but we do hit the board pair And he does check it. Not super interesting spot. We're obviously jamming a bunch here. Say we had just called the turn with a jack, like I'd probably be jamming that a bunch too. So no need for me to size small or anything like that. There are plenty of chops I'm trying to bluff him off. Anyway, I pile it down his throat, and he is going to tank a little bit before calling with... Come on, fish. Hurry it up. Go on. I mean, you got a full house, mate. I mean, you can fucking call already. I would have felt very slow rolled there if I had tried to bluff him off a chop. Give him the little sympathy emoji. I like these animations and whatnot on GG. Anyway, I think then we go to our first break, and now next hand we play is a bit of big blind defense here. Flop a pretty big one. I mean, not enough to check raise, obviously, in this situation, but pretty happy with the flop. Some dog shit turns potential, of course, but we're happy to see a lot of other turns. This one, it's meh. Like we just kind of have to call a barrel. And I think he does barrel. And if I recall correctly, he does not bet pot. He bets 2/3 pot, so pretty easy call for us. Not much really to consider, except maybe do we want to donk bluff on a particular river? And I'll be honest, I hadn't really considered that until this river rolled off, where I realized like I am absolute bottom range here on this card, absolute bottom range. And so yeah, I decided I would lead it as a bluff, and I don't know if I like my sizing. Villain was likely to be a fish, which makes me like it a little bit more, but I think if I want to be donking Queen 10 there, I probably should have sized down a little bit less, like 1/3 or 35%. Moving on. We go for a farm here with 10-10, 8-8 rainbow. And I believe pre-flop raiser checks, and we're just going to stab here. With the 10 of hearts 10s. If I was like no heart copy of this hand, I might not bother stabbing, but with the heart, I feel compelled. PFR timing out here. Does check, and I think I third it. Yeah, I third it. Tighter looking fish here. Pretty fast check call. And the pre-flop raiser overfolds. The turn is a brick, and I decide to pot blast it. I'm planning on bluffing hearts unless he donks, obviously. And giving up board pairs, I guess. However, the trap is sprung. We lose our gold. We give him a little bit of a tilt thumbs up emoji and move on to the next hand. Win Yun Chao is, I don't know if this guy's real name. I should have checked. It's funny if he's not. Defends the small blind against my button pot. I guess not much happened for a while. Like I just chipped down, lost some small pots, the blinds went up because I'm now only 70 BB effective. I did keep all significant pots in, so if I lost a couple of pots, they were only single raised, one bet kind of pots. Anyway, I decide to just c-bet against Mr. Chow here, playing 67 VPIP. And I decide to barrel a sizing where I would bet straights and some good trips for a second value bet. And Mr. Chow, he decides to just pot it in. I was going to snap jam because it's whatever, it's a fish. But then I realized, like, if a fish is bluffing and I snap re-jam, there is some chance that he's able to fold with a draw that's not live. So I decided I might just tank a little bit, you know, not try to waste his entire evening, but I just don't want him to fold a hand that has 0%. Not sure if it was worth thinking about. He probably just felt slow rolled, to be honest. And no emoji for such a player. I don't want to tilt him. Moving on to the next hand, cutoff button, playing 70 effective. I decided to screenshot this because I'm not sure about the 3-bet. I did check it, and it was completely standard 3-bet later. And unfortunately, we're going to see the 4-ball. So, not what we want to see, unless, of course... Excuse that random YouTube video I must have clicked in the background. But yeah, we do see the 4-ball, and we're not really happy unless, of course, we're flopping the nut, which we do. Now we're pretty excited to play this spot post-flop. The 4-better is not going to bet, and I think it's pretty interesting how we play in this spot. But I think we're going to jam a lot of top pair because we're playing for the other guy's bounty. And if it goes like jam call and this guy's able to fold for 25 BB, getting infinity to 1, like over 5 to 1, I don't think we mind that with a bunch of different hands that are unfoldable for us. So I decided just to jam with this Nizzles, and we run into the actual Nizzles, unfortunately. We do turn middle 2, but cannot find help on the end. Sorry for the minor spoiler. Although I think technically the diamond already revealed that, right? So yeah, we lose a pretty large pot. We give a little tilted emoji. And yeah. I guess at this point I'm questioning whether I should have 3-bet that or not, but it was a good 3-bet. And now we get rewarded with a nice hand. And we pump it in. Rooting for a fold, but certainly wouldn't mind doubling up. This guy cold calls off, trying to gift us his bounty, which is appreciated. This guy decides he also has a good enough hand that he wants to continue playing for up to 2 bounties. This dude says, fuck you guys, all in. And this guy donates the remaining chips that he has, I believe. What does he actually have? I think this guy has dirt, the poor man one. He has absolute dirt. And we flop top pair. So it's got to be pretty good, right? Top 2 even. How could we lose? How could we lose? We can't lose, actually. We win. But we don't collect all that much of this pot. Oh no, I mean, this is a decent whack. 95 VB. 1 bounty for the boy. Born in Ukraine. Collects some chips and we move on. How bad is my alliteration, by the way, saying we move on like every single time we change to the next hand? Is it noticeably annoying? Feel free to comment. Anyway, what looked like a juice spot, getting 3-bet by the whale, turns south pretty fast. And I fold here. I don't really know why I included this hand, I guess because it's just one of these moments where you're thinking like, oh goddamn, I could have just spewed this in. I wouldn't do that tilt emoji while these guys are still in the pot. I think it's quite colludy. But yeah, just for fun, I hover over it. And funnily enough, we would have been drawing dead again had we played this punt hand. So yeah, not particularly interesting. It's just been included. Let's call it bonus footage in the video. The next pot we actually play though, with a PFR here, we get multiple callers. I don't see bet here on the Queen 7-5 with this random 2-over backdoor kind of hand. And it skips over to the turn where we have Jack of Hearts and 2 overs. I decide to make a small stab here. Obviously I've got the most kings and aces of every player. In fact, I should really have the only, because this upswing guy should be 3-betting all of those hands pre, and then the other guy should be squeezing them to fuck. So yeah, I have a lot of the kings and aces. I also block them. I block ace queen and king queen, etc. And some flush draws continuing. So I decide to make a small stab as a bluff. It works against this short stack. The small blind whale snaps me up though, I think. And the Ukraine boy finds the fold. So I'll just skip ahead here a little bit. And the river is a duck, okay? The brick of bricks. And this guy just insta-leads half. And yeah, I mean, these spots are just extremely hard to play because the dude is not repping anything at all. Like nothing. But I also don't have a pair. And if you think about what bluffs he could potentially have, obviously like some missed straight draws, missed flush draws, etc. There is certainly a chance he can have like either reduced 3s, 4s, 6s, maybe even a 7 in his hand somewhere, just randomly bluffing. So I want a hero, but I also am paranoid about the fact that he can have a pair bluffing and clearly I have a lot stronger hands in my range that I can call with, so I decided to fold it. Would you have hero called that spot? It's definitely one of the rare spots where ace king high on a non-trips board in PLO is reasonable showdown. This one we overcall pre, and I decide to just make the protection denial bet on the flop. I don't always bet such a hand like this, but I RNG for it and decide to bet this time. I think the combo's fine. Many, many, many bad turns. Taking the pot down here is amazing. Some good turns too, you know? Like a 6, an additional pair, or a full house, maybe even a queen, aren't too bad of cards for me. But in any event, the turn is a brick after we get called, so I decide to slow down here. I have a bluff catcher, but if he sizes up anything significant, I will be folding it. He doesn't bet though, so we get to the river, and I decide to make a blocker bet, which I do with a bunch of hands in my range, this being obviously one of the weaker ones, and having no straight blocker, I'm hoping we don't get raised. The risk of making this bet against a fish is that fish can be quite aggressive in such spots, especially against small bets. So I'll spoil it now. He does pop me up, and I might have induced it with this small sizing, which obviously sucks, right? Because I just can't call. I go for the snap fold. It's really whatever. I know I'm not going to call that, no matter the amount of tanking I do. So yeah, just to touch back on that for one last tick, I could have just checked, you know, and fish will definitely check back their showdown. Like if he just called with a queen, you know, he's not going to bluff that. But there is a chance that he turns that queen into a bluff here. You know, just like maybe he has like queen 6 or whatever, and decides, oh fuck it, I'll just bluff. You know, he thinks I'll fold like a set or whatever, you know? I don't know. So I could have ruined this myself. It might have been a smarter line against the fish not to go for the small amount of, you know, putting the pressure on his top pairs kind of line that this hand is doing right now. But I don't absolutely hate my decision. It's whatever. Anyway, I decide to pot raise into these two dudes who have a bounty for me. 10 BB effective from the button. Think it's totally standard. And I end up winning a coin flip and another bounty. So, yay. I guess I probably should have mentioned at the start of this video that it's a bounty tournament, but it is visibly available for you to notice yourself. I definitely do not have much experience with the bounties, but clearly any time that there's a hand where the chip EV is close to being a call or a fold, and there's a bounty available, it's going to push those hands across the line and make you gamble with them. The bigger the bounty, the larger the excuse. This time I limp in with King, Queen 10 rainbow. We got a 10 BB guy for bounty on the button, and we've got a 27 BB guy in the big blind. We flop top set with the Queen of Spades here. Could make for an interesting slow pay, but I decide just to RNG it. I don't gift him a free turn. When I hold a Queen and pocket kings, he's going to be weighted more to having draws, so I'm happy just to deny equity. Many of the draws are priced in, but are also hands that are dominated by other hands, especially when I hold the Queen of Spades and may fold the turn, getting correct odds. But yeah, we get to the river like this, and it's not that bad of a river. Like I would certainly bet a bunch of sets here. Like there's no problem. Like probably all pocket queens, all pocket tens. But with top set and a queen and a 10 blocking calls, I decided to make the sort of nitty check back. And I would not have been called by a bottom pair here. He could have actually lead bluffed his hand, and I probably would have folded. So that might have been a better line for him. But luckily he didn't do that. Here we managed to squeeze out a pretty easy big blind defend, assuming that nobody 3-bets. I guess I can skip ahead. It does just go heads up to the flop. I check and he goes for a half pot. I don't want to do anything weird, and we don't have enough equity to get it in with a SPR of just over 4. So I do check call. Find a pretty good turn, obviously, making trips. That said, 2 SPR, it's pretty easy to be cooled here. He goes for the 3rd bet, leaving like pot behind, you know. So potentially going for the big hand rep. May we have to fold this river with a 9 of heart and trips? The river is quite bad. There is certainly a chance that he bluffed the turn with an ace and made 3 of a kind, which will definitely just beat us at showdown. He doesn't put us to the test, though, on the end. It would have been, I don't know, a pretty tricky spot, to be honest. I probably have a fine bluff catcher, but is it a spot people bluff in much? I don't really think so. Anyway, so we pick up that pot, 3-bet this next one, up against a pretty high VPIP whale. And disgusting spot posts, 3 SPR. We have aces with a king, but there's a 6-4 of diamonds out there, so a lot of hands just have huge equity against us. We have no diamond. I decide pot calling might be too spewy on this board. Like king 6-5, king 7-6, I would feel extremely bad pot calling this off. King 6-4, is that similar enough? I'm not quite sure. But I decide to start things with a check. He pots it, and I'm not really sure. Could I just check fold here with the king as well? I decide I probably can't, so I take the turn, find a brick, and decide I just have to stack it, basically. So yeah, complicated one, could be a misplay, very tricky hand, but this is the line that I went for. We run into quite a hand here, actually having more equity than us on the turn. But that's no problem. We find a brick somehow. What do I give him? A little running hot emoji? What was it on the flop? Like 25, 75? I don't even know. But yeah, we get moved tables. Now, instead of that guy, we have a 76 VPIP whale. I limped this pre-flop, so we're playing 3-way limped here. The big blind having 11 BB and a bounty, little $75 bounty to pick up. This fish is going to stab the turn. I obviously can't fold this hand on the turn. I call him. And the river, I think, is an offsuit 5. And fish, I think he gives us like a 40%. I go to click snap. I do just snap him. I think for how loose the fish is and the price of the bet, it's probably just not foldable. Like the 7 blocker is relevant. I think I'm happy to pay that off, but you know, whatever. We get limped into here by some of the 40 BB, 30 BB boys. I punish up some aces. Find another pretty bad flop for aces. Again, SPR like 2.5, and I start things off with a check. He bets it all, and I snap fold. I think dry aces here, it's not even close. The 2.5 SPR. I think that board also connects pretty well with a limping range preflop. So yeah, I avoid the potential coin flip there and just give it away. He doubles up or some shit in the meantime and becomes almost chip leader. We're down to 28 BB. I decide to rim ram this hand pre-flop. He's probably opening quite wide since there's a bunch of bounties behind him, and I decide that whatever. Kong's good enough, don't want to let other people realize their equity here. So I pump it in, and we take it down pre, so I guess he was right. I was right that he opens quite wide, because I'm offering him a decent bounty myself. And we're on a little run here. I think it's the very next hand we wake up AA. And we pump it up. Not trapping this AA. I think, yeah, the gentleman in the small is going to be our only customer this time. Peels it up, and we go to a flop. So 9 BB in the pot, 27 in the stack, SPR around 3. Ace of clubs, aces, backdoor straight draw, backdoor nut flush. I decide to take the card here against Mr. Fish. This hand is a very, like, get me to showdown type of hand. Like, this turn card's not even that bad, right? We've got ace of clubs. So I just hope that he bluffs me, basically. I go for the double trap. River's a quizzy, so obviously an interesting card. We're very under-repped. He bets 40% himself. I feel like it's pretty mandatory for us to raise. We probably have to raise reasonably wide. Like definitely kings plus jacks with 2 overs I probably raise as well. Maybe I should have just potted. I'm not totally sure, but I felt like 75 seemed fine. And yeah, we're hoping he doesn't jam because that's going to be complicated if we get jammed on. Hearts are the best way to block quads, but at the same time, we're getting a really good price. We might have to make a disgusting raise call. Instead, he calls us, so that's good news. And apparently he has ace-9, 5 deuce for the hello, it's my first time playing this game, quote-unquote full house call without actually having a full house. And the man on the right with the cooler emoji showing that he had quads. If only he had played such a terrible hand pre-flop. What goes on next? Oh, yes. He opens up. We squeeze out King, King, Jack, Jack single. A very nice hand with a monster whale BB. So lovely little spot for us here. I believe the gentleman does come along out of the BB, and we flop a royal draw with kings to show down. So not much we can do here. We're going to have to gamble. And an instant pot c-bet comes from this guy, and he's playing 5.5 SPR with the whale, 3 with us. And so I've got a, some kind of small decision here. Is there any point in jamming? I decide with whale behind, I'd rather just play it multi-way. My hand is a draw, Sure, I guess sometimes whale could have dry top pair. This other dude could be c-betting a worse draw. If I jam, whale folds his top pair. And then, we get it in with better equity. But I think it's a rare scenario. And I decided there's more value in allowing the whale to join the party. So I peeled it. It feels standard. Whale overcalls. Turn is an offsuit 7, so we're going to have to get there. The man snap rams it in. Little good luck for everybody before we call it off. And the fish is going to get this in too. The fish is pleased with this turn card. The fish has ace-7, 4-3. So dry top pair and a gutty on the flop, turning top and middle pair. Doesn't fold it on the turn, despite the multi-way, which is, whatever. He's a massive fish. It's not a big deal. And unfortunately, this man has decided to pot c-bet 10-7-7-6 with a backdoor flush draw and lower diamonds than us. But he has hit the 7 on the turn. So we are really in need of some help going into the river. Any of our sets, a queen or a diamond, will do it for 33%. But it is not our day today. And in the final level of that particular day 1, we exit the tournament stage. Losing quite a monster pot would have been a juicy one to take on to day 2. So yeah, I do enter another day 1, and the story does go on. But the story of this video ends now. And based on how you guys received this video, we will continue to rock the Christine Brewer avatar into further PLO tournament videos. So yeah, feel free to let me know if you have any comments to help me improve the content. If you liked a particular thing, didn't like a particular thing, just let us know in the comments. I do read everything and stuff, and I am curious as to how I could improve it, because, if you bother making a fucking video, you do want to make it decently well. Maybe there's some discussion about the trade-off for time with editing, like I don't want to have to do all kinds of crazy editing shit myself. But yeah, let me know if you've got any thoughts, and see you guys potentially on the next one.